Well, no, welcome, welcome back, guys, to the Khana Prep podcast. I'm your host, Masood. I'm joined with.
Your apparently other host, Mohsin.
That's it. I was just sharing a stat just before we were recording. Apparently, I think 70% or 60% of podcasts don't see, they don't make it till the 30th episode. So I think if we get consistent from now, 30 episodes in, we'll have an intro by that time. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
That's it, bro. How you been, man?
Good. It's been good. Freezing at the moment.
Yeah, it's cold. I thought it was just me.
No, it's cold. I think the weather has changed quite drastically.
Yeah.
Was it hailstoning yesterday?
Yeah, it was.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I thought so.
I was in the kitchen and I just heard bear banging and I was like, what's going on? And I just opened the fire exit and I was like, I closed it. I was like, it's hailstorm. But yeah, man. Today we're gonna be talking. Before we even get into it, do you want to talk about like the past week?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, from the previous podcast, everybody will remember that we set up a challenge.
Yeah.
And the challenge was we were gonna go on a Khana prep. I had some weight to lose. Masood, I challenged Masood publicly on that podcast.
Yeah, and I'm doing it.
And for Masood to drop some weight or drop use the Khana prep products. Obviously, Masood was in a good shape some time ago, and obviously things happened. But now he's got the Khana prep product, and so have I. So let's share our results. So how's your last week been? In terms of.
I mean, it's good. It's been difficult though. Like just eating. Eating. No, it's been difficult, but it hasn't been difficult. If that makes sense. So, like for example, like when I'm in the kitchen, I legit don't eat anything. Not because I don't want to eat.
Not a smart idea, but
no, it's not a smart idea. But it's not because I don't want to eat, but it's because it's just so much like things to do. Like my mind's occupied with other things, so like I just don't have that physical time. Okay, now I need to eat. Like I've got my meals with me. There's been times where I've taken my meals to the kitchen and I just haven't eaten them. Like just don't have time to eat them. And then when I get home, then I eat them, and then it's like okay, cool. That's where the easy part comes in.
So here's the question: since this is like a live mini type of documentary type thing we're doing in terms of the challenge, but
it's not live,
but since we're doing it unscripted and just publicly, question is.
So you sent me a script.
How could you have made that better for yourself? So let's say other people are in the same shoes. They've planned the week out. They're going to eat. They're busy. Whatever the case is, what do you think would have made it easier? What could have made it easier for you? So going into next week, we don't have that same problem.
How can that become easier?
I think one way is obviously dedicating a set time to eat.
Okay.
I think maybe an alarm on your phone.
Set alarm on your phone,
on the phone, like this is my lunchtime. Even if it's, Khana prep meal takes 3 minutes to warm up.
Yeah.
Takes 5 minutes to eat. Or actually probably a bad idea. You should take your time to eat and obviously bite every make sure you chew everything properly. So let's say 10 minutes. Yeah, 10, 15 minutes. Make sure you eat your meal. Take 15 minutes. Eat it really slowly. I mean, come on, you can take 15 minutes out in the whole week to have your Khana prep meal. Generally. So how's that been? How has your water intake been?
It's been good.
Yeah, and steps.
Steps, you know what it is, yeah? They've been good, yeah? But like, because I don't have my phone in my pocket most times. That's why I can't...
Poor excuse, but...
No, it's not...
But there's no data there, is it?
No, but there isn't it? Because I know I do... Because you know what it is? When my phone's in my pocket, if my phone's in my pocket, yeah, I know I do at least 10,000.
No, but it's not there. You ain't got the data. How are we going to understand that? So guys...
So I say I do 7,000 with my phone in my pocket, and then I do at least 7,000 without...
What would you rate your week at? So what would you rate your...
10 out of 10, bro.
No, seriously. Because this is something that people are going to use...
No, I know. Honestly...
Okay, I'll give you 4 parameters, yeah? How do you think your adherence to nutrition was from a scale of 1 to 10 last week?
Scale of 1 to 10 is probably a 7.
7?
Yeah.
Do you think 7, yeah? Right. So what do you think... What were you missing? What was the 3 that you were missing?
3 is probably eating on time. And then just getting... just snacks, bro. Snacks, bro. It's such a hard thing.
Okay, we're going to deal with this in this podcast about snacks, yeah? But you know what? That's, guys, something really important. Every week, when you assess yourself, right, at the end of the week, sit there for 10 minutes and give yourself a number, right? So let's say, okay, Masood's saying, you know what, I got 7 out of 10 nutrition this week.
Yeah.
But, the 3 that you were missing, you're saying it was time, and you said
it's also had a lot of parties.
A lot of parties. Okay, cool. We'll deal with that one as well. Yeah, keep that in mind when you deal with this podcast, yeah? This podcast, they listen to it. So you got a 7 out of 10. You said one of your problems was your time parties, and you said obviously your snack, right? So guys, if I was Masood in this position, what I would do, I would write those 3 things down. I would keep everything exactly the same as last week, and I would work on just those 3 things. Forget 3 of these. I'll probably just work on 1 of those things. I would forget the parties, because your parties are not coming every week. I'd probably pick up the snacks, right? What was your issue with snacks?
I've got a massive sweet tooth.
Okay.
And it's like I'm craving sugar. Like I'm craving it. Like it's just like it's there. Like I need it.
Tell me why. Why do you think you're craving sugar?
I think because like for the last like 8 months, my diet has been so atrocious. Like I've been accustomed to eating sugar with every meal.
So you have been accustomed. So you shouldn't be craving it, should you?
No,
it's not like you've not had it for 8 months. You've been
no, I
having
mean
it.
no, I know, but it's like when I've actively made the decision last week not to have like a lot of like chocolate.
What counts as a lot of though? How much have you cut it
A
down
lot,
by?
a lot means like every meal I'm having like a bar of chocolate. Like that's like what I used to.
And why we reduced it down to? No, that's cool.
Well, now it's like every 3 days I have like a bar of chocolate.
Cool. And guys, that's perfectly normal. So, if you're craving sugar, look, I think there's this rule, right? If you're craving something, you're craving to eat something, before you eat that thing, just stand there for a few seconds, ask yourself, am I craving it or am I hungry?
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes I eat it because I'm just bored.
Or
bro.
leave a gap.
You know what I mean?
But there you go. But leave a gap. So let's say you're hungry, right? Let's say I'm feeling hungry. I'll go at this moment. Let's say I'm craving a bar of chocolate.
Yeah.
Wait 20 minutes. Wait 15, 20 minutes, and then ask yourself that same question 20 minutes time. Do I still want that chocolate? 9 out of 10 times you'll probably crave it. 20 minutes later, you'll probably forget about it completely. It might, like you said, it might be out of boredom. It might be because you're.
What about impulse reactions? What about that? Like, how do you do that?
But that's a habit that needs to be done. Like, that's a neurological thing that needs to be worked on. So, for example, let's say every time like for me, one of the problems I have when I go home, everybody knows where the snack cupboard is, right? We all know there's that one cupboard where it's stacked with snacks, right? Or people have snacks. Obviously, the most obvious thing to do is to make sure your snack cupboard is not a snack cupboard anymore, to reduce it. Actually, another thing that's worked really well for me is where you typically put your snacks, take your snacks from that cupboard and put them in a different cupboard. So, for example, let's say you go in the kitchen and your snack cupboard is 3 drawers down on the right-hand side. Just go get the snacks and put them on the left-hand side 3 drawers down. The likely chances for you are going to that snack, because you're so trained habitually to go to that cupboard out of habit, you'll go there, you'll open it, oh, nothing there, forget it, close it and walk off. Right? And that's worked really well for me. And I've done that in the past as well when I think, okay, this needs to stop. I've changed a few things. So obviously you've got to change that. You've got to either reduce the number of snacks in the house, or you've got to change your relationship with it, which is every time you want a snack, and this is, guys, a very good tip for everybody who craves sugar, is when you crave sugar, give yourself 20 minutes. So, okay, right now I want a bar of chocolate. Be like, I'm not going to have it, I'm going to have it in 20 minutes time. And then in 20 minutes, either you would have forgotten, or you realize, actually, I wasn't actually hungry, I was just bored. And another one is water, guys. Scientifically, I don't have the study at hand, but you guys can search it. Just type in this on the internet and on some scientific articles. Scientifically, did you know that so many people confuse their thirst signals with hunger signals? So a lot of times when we're actually thirsty, we assume we're hungry, and we just go eat. But a lot of the time, when you drink water, right, you might find that obviously that was the thirst signal and you just wanted water instead of food. So that's really good. So you said 7 out of 10. Your steps, I'm going to put them on step adherence, activity level. What's your adherence out of 10?
Bro, I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah?
Activity level.
No, legit. Like, I've actually followed it. It's just my phone hasn't been in my pocket.
So give a number.
This is, let me give you context in it. When I'm in the kitchen, it's like I'm looking at the recipe. The phone's on the table like that. I'm looking at the recipe, and okay, I need to get, I don't know, flipping broccoli. I'll run to the fridge, get broccoli, like do that 3-4 times, and my phone's just there. That's like at least like 300-400 steps.
We don't need your sob story, Give me a number from 1 to 10 on how adherence to activity, not just steps, general activity levels.
Let me give you a technical answer, So I'll give it 1 to 10 on recorded data.
Okay, cool.
I'd say about 6,
Okay.
Unrecorded 10.
So you say but does that mean if you had recorded all your activity
It would be
from
10.
last week? Okay, so you're 100% happy your activity. You couldn't do more.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I couldn't do more for what the time I have. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So 10 out of 10. So 10 out of 10.
No. That's a lie. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm gonna say 8 out of 10.
Cool. 8 out of 10
Yeah.
for your activity levels.
Yeah.
7 out of 10 for your nutrition levels. And the third one we're going to ask is how you're feeling. How did you feel you actually felt emotionally that last week?
Well, the first week's obviously the hardest. So I think the first 2 weeks for me are definitely the hardest. Like to start back up in the new routine. Whether that's a positive routine or a negative routine, is the first 2 weeks are difficult because you're adjusting from a way of life that you've been used to for like a number of months to a completely new way of life. So I'm this like how I've been feeling better. Yeah, you could say I've been. I mean, I'm technically yes, but I'm still feeling like it's still like working its magic. Do you know what I mean?
That's fine, but I'm asking you from a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of feeling, in terms of positive energy. From 1 to 10, how are you feeling? Was it like, you know what, 5? Yeah, I'm not feeling this.
Okay,
Was it
so
8? Was I feeling
so the
really-
week before, if I was to rate it before I started the diet, I'll probably say it was probably at 3.
Okay,
Now it's probably at 5.
excellent. So we've gone up by 2. So we're at 5. What do you think you can do this coming week to get from 5 to a 10?
I think
Well, not 5 to 10, maybe even 7.
be more consistent with the meals because I think the better quality of food that I'm eating, I'm able to like. I've been waking up at 6 a.m. for the last like week and a half. Like I don't do that. Like you know me,
Yeah.
bro. I don't wake up at 6 a.m. But I've been waking up at 6 a.m. just not naturally. I've got my alarm, but it's like I'm waking up and I'm like, okay, I'm awake. You know what I mean? It's like even when I try going back to sleep, it's like oh, I'm already awake now. But before it would be like I wake up I try waking up at 6. I'm like look at my phone. I'll go sleep again for like another like 3 hours, 4 hours.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Fair enough. So that's good. So obviously there's improvement there.
Yeah.
So guys, what I've done, I just wanted to do this, on the podcast to see every one of you, obviously in the new year, this is something you guys should be looking at, right? This is a way to sort of assess yourself, right? These are the simple factors you can do and be honest with yourself. Right? If, for example, your nutrition is 5 or a 4, write a 4 down and then ask yourself, how can I improve it? Don't just try to justify yourself, right? So I'm going to go through the same thing myself. So last week on the podcast, I said I was 85. That's not true. I was actually 86.5.
What? 6.5 what?
kg.
Okay.
That's my weight. Today I weighed in at 85.3. So I've lost about... actually, I didn't ask you that. How much weight have you lost in the last week?
About a kg.
Well done, man. Congratulations, man. That's really good, guy. 1 kg is a big thing, you guys.
Yeah.
1 kg. Now, obviously, if you, in a month, that's approximately 4 kgs. That's a lot of weight.
Yeah, if it carries on.
If it carries on that, so that's really, really good. So well done. And you should take the small wins. Take the small wins, guys. If you lose 1 kg, don't be like, I've got another 100 kg to lose. 1 kg, is something. It's 1 kg less than last week. And just take it week by week, day by day, and that's really, really good. So you should be proud of yourself. This week, I was a bit shocked. I was 86.5. And the reason for that is probably because last few weeks, again, there's been a few events I've had to attend. So I was 86.5 kg. This week I'm 85.3. So I've brought it back to where I was. 200-300 grams could be water, could be anything, for any matter. So I'm back at where I was. I reckon my nutrition adherence, I would probably say it was 6 out of a 10. Probably because I've been a bit heavy on the sugar, and I think I can probably bring that under control. I've been missing my lunch and delaying that. That's making me consume more calories in the evening, so I'm probably going to change that.
Why are you missing it?
Just getting busy, getting rushed. Yeah. So I'm purely because I've been I forgot to bring my meals to the office. Yeah. So I've actually decided to make sure I leave my meals, where I leave. So make sure I take my meal with me. So that's going to be the improvement next week. In terms of activity adherence, I would probably give it probably like a 5 or a 6 out of 10. I've hit 10,000 steps every single day.
Yeah.
But for me personally, that's not good enough. I want to be hitting maybe closer to 14,000 steps regularly. I think I can do more, and I think to get to the next stage in my weight category, to where I want to get to, I think I need to up my activity levels a little bit more. But at the bare minimum, I've 100% hit 10,000, just over 10,000 steps every single day this week. In terms of how I've been feeling, not the greatest. I've not really been in the best place anyways. Just got a lot of stuff happening in my, just personal life and stuff like that. So not me feeling the best. But I think I would be feeling a lot worse if I didn't have my nutrition and my activity levels and my gym. And I managed to get last week. I managed to get 3.5 gym sessions in, roughly.
My gym session, I think I've been 2 last week.
2. But look, how many did you do the week before that?
0.
So that's 2. So that's 100%. That's a 200% improvement, right? So don't go from 0 to 5 in a week. Because don't forget your body's gonna hurt. So go to 2. If you got your 2 consistent, then you add in a 3. But if you can't keep the 2 consistent, stick to your 2. Guys, it's all about the consistency. From an Islamic perspective, right? From a religious perspective, you have this thing that it's the small actions that God loves the most, right? And in that, there's great wisdom. There's a great wisdom in that statement because The more often you do something, the smaller things that you do more consistently, you're more likely to make a habit out of it than to be like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm gonna go and train in the gym 7 days a week. Mate, you'll do that for 1 week, and the next week you won't go ever because you'll be paralyzed.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about being realistic, right? So so that's just something to remember.
Even when I was like proper, like when I was like really when I was in really good shape, even for me, like I went from 4 days a week and then 5 days a week, and then at the highest, the peak level, I think I did it for like 3 weeks. I was going 6 days a week, and that's even then. Even when you're like in good shape, 6 days a week is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
You know
And you know what? Let me. I'm gonna put another thing out there, and a lot of people have been questioning me on this, right, guys? If you're trying to lose weight, and you're choosing between having to go to the gym and increasing your activity levels, guys, allow the gym, go do your activity, increase your activity levels. Your food's gonna account for maybe 60-70%. Your activity level is gonna be 20-30%. Your gym is not gonna help you more than 5% in weight loss. It's there for other reasons. It will aid. It will do other things, right? So, and does that make sense? Yeah, so I think overall, I think I'd rate my across all categories. I'll probably rate my week probably at a 5 out of 10. For other people, it might be a lot higher, but for me personally, when I look at it, I think I could have done a lot more activity. I could have completed more gym sessions. My food could have been better. So, and I'm not going to be, because I don't want to be overly optimistic with myself. You can't expect to go, the definition of madness is to do the same thing and expect a different result, right? So you can't be saying, hey, I've got 10 out of 10 and everything, and then next week, your ratings change. You think, I wonder why that is. Well, that's because you thought you were perfect. Yeah. So I'd rather be extra critical. Again, I feel coming out with random statements today. From a religious perspective, there's a statement. I think one of the great scholars said that a smart person is strict on himself but lenient on other people. So meaning, in this case, obviously this is from a religious matter, talking about when you're trying to help other people from a religious perspective, be easy on them but hard on yourself. So hold your personal level to a higher standard and be accommodating for other people. So when it comes to here, for me, I'm going to hold myself to a very critical standard. I think 5 is probably at a push. And I think if my adherence levels were there, I think I would be in a better position. So next week, on the next podcast, we're going to talk about, I want to get from 5 to a 7, because my 5 is quite a critical 5.
How important is it for sleep in this whole equation?
Listen, it's the most underrated thing.
Yeah.
Sleep is so important in your recovery.
Yeah.
Because if you're not sleeping properly, your craving signals or your signals to want to snack are going to be a lot higher. Because when you're tired, your body wants comfort, your body wants food, your body wants calories, right? To keep you going, right? And I'm probably not saying the most scientific thing, but long story short, if you're not sleeping properly, you're not gonna be rested. Your performance in the day is gonna be rubbish. You're gonna be taking comfort from food that you don't need to be taking comfort from. So there's gonna be a lot of problems. So guys, sleep. Make sure you get your full sleep. Sleep on time.
What's the best amount of time to sleep?
Look, I think it's about 7 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
I think at least 7 to 8 hours is important to get your sleep. I think I would put my hands up to it. My sleep is never the best. I've always had problems sleeping. In fact, here's a new thing. I've actually invested into a machine. I've invested into a white noise machine recently. It's a small gadget.
Really?
Yeah, no, honestly, I've got a small gadget.
Does it play white noise?
So it's basically like random noises, like noises. What white noise is,
Well, you
right?
put your headphones in.
No, just leave it there in the room. It's like a little speaker, and it has like 12 sounds on it. And I've been using that for the last few days.
What,
and
plays it loud or?
Plays it loud, yeah. And I've noticed that it's been helping me get into deeper sleep.
Okay.
I am still restless, but a lot less than where I was, and I'm hoping that's going to help me to get to sleep.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because before I go to sleep, I don't know if it's a thing, but at least for me, I don't listen to white noise. I just listen to like a podcast and I go to sleep.
Whatever works for anybody.
Because it's like, you want to distract your mind from the carnage that's happening inside here. Like, if I'm listening to something, at least my mind's preoccupied. I can close my eyes, and while I'm listening to it, I can just fall asleep like that. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like it's the same thing. My favorite podcast I listen to is Joe Rogan's podcast, because no disrespect, like some of his podcasts are so boring. Yeah, it's like I'm listening to like a boring podcast, and like Yeah, I'm no interest in this whatsoever, and I'm just sleeping.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
No, and whatever works. And I think sleeping is very, very important. I think next week, let's make sure we get another kg under our belt.
Yeah.
At least, maybe less, maybe more. As long as it's a drop, I think it'd be because not every week you're gonna have a 1 kg drop. There's so many factors. The day you weigh yourself, you might have more water, you might have had a bit more carbs the day before. It might be stress, might be cortisol levels, might be whatever the case may be. So, but let's go on a downward trajectory for next week. Let's get our nutrition levels higher, better. Keeping activities levels, more important, and let's review that next week.
Yeah, I'm feeling tired at the moment. I think my sleep has. I mean, it's difficult when you're in the kitchen, you're working, and I've heard some murder stories in like people working in kitchens where they're working like graveyard night shifts, like non-stop, back to back. And yeah, I've experienced a few of them in my time. And in fact, I kind of low-key experienced it a couple of days ago where we finished at the kitchen at like 2:00. We went home, woke up at 6. You get to the kitchen at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and work another 12-hour day. And you do that week in, week out. It does take effect. So the biggest challenge for me is, like, when I was in the best shape of my life last year, I didn't have. I mean, Khana prep was a thing. It wasn't what it is now. Do you know what I mean? Like now, alhamdulillah, it's a growing business. Orders are coming in week in, week out. We're trying to grow it.
Alhamdulillah, we're grateful for that.
We're really grateful.
We're grateful for that. Alhamdulillah, just want to say that every person that's trusted us, we've been improving month on month. We've got good people that's people that are very nice, understanding, and it's what's helping us provide a great service. And me for Khana Prep, for me, is a lifesaver. Absolute lifesaver.
Thanks for interrupting me. But
absolute lifesaver. Sorry, what was that again? Lifesaver.
Okay. What was I saying? I legit forgot. But
you were talking about
So like, alhamdulillah, the business is growing, and it's a really good thing. But the downside, the personal downside, is the fact that I'm not really sleeping or recovering a lot, and that's where the issue of not eating on time comes. Because like this dispatch that went, like the one that just went like yesterday, I was so proud of it because it's like, bro, I literally put all my time and energy into perfecting all the recipes because we've had a bit of issues, but this one, I legit like looked at every single thing, and the best the good thing about this menu is that I'm excited about every single meal. I can confidently say, I've always confidently said, but this one particularly because there's such a drastic change in the flavors that we're doing in some of the thing.
And guys, I think a lot of people, probably don't understand that to come up with, because we change our menus every 2 weeks, to come up with and to make sure we're always having the latest flavors, different flavors, testing flavors, it takes time. It takes time. So we're always super excited when we get like a new set of spices that we can test. Wow, that's gonna work.
Like my favorite meals are Turkish red pepper chicken. The one that it was banging, and it tastes exactly. Guys, bro, it tasted exactly like the way when you.
Let me tell you something, guys. This meal he's talking about. I don't know. Do we have that testing video?
No, we don't.
Did we not test? No, I'm sure we did it on video.
But I recorded it late.
Guys, I'm telling you, I was eating this
meal. The one time I don't record, you have a great reaction.
I was eating this meal, and wallahi, I swear to God, felt like I was sitting in Turkey.
Yeah.
I was eating this meal, and I was just like, do you know what? If this is healthy eating, I'm gonna just do this all my life.
You literally said that. I might as well just order 12 meals of this.
That's it.
Legit, that's one meal.
That's what's coming. That's what's coming. Yeah. But guys, for me, Khana Prep has been a huge help. It's just. I don't need to. I'm a living example.
You don't need to be a salesman.
No. On a level, guys. But as a living example, go. I'll see if somebody can check you on this on this podcast, or Masood can put it in social media, guys. When I was 35 kg plus this weight, I used explicitly and exclusively Khana Prep meals. The fat loss meals, that's what I used. It controlled my portion. I knew what I was eating, and I'm back on that again. And look, last week I was on it. I've lost another kg. And I'm going to lose another kg next week. Inshallah.
This video is brought to you by our sponsor. That's basically what you're doing. You're selling, bro. What did you say to me? Like, people don't want to be sold to. You're literally selling, bro.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah, you're selling. Cool. So what we're talking about today is work-life balance. Funny enough, that way to talk.
Exactly. I think it just feeds straight into the topic. I mean, I want to ask you a question. When you say you were sleeping.
Let me ask a question first. But you jumping in.
I'm
chill, bro. You know what I mean? I'm knocking out right now.
You're lucky on the podcast.
So I mean, you're lucky there's a table here separating us. You know what I mean? Like the River Nile.
I'm gonna do a WWE style, man, and put this table
Like
together.
the River Nile is separating us. You know what I mean? But
I think it's your stomach. What?
did you know the River Nile is the largest river in the world, the longest river in the world?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you sound like you learned.
Found out yesterday.
Well done. You graduated from year 2. What? Go on.
So my question is it even possible for a busy working professional to have a work-life balance? Is that even, like, people always say work, you need to go work at X amount, make sure you balance out with this and that, but is it even possible with the busy lifestyles that our customers and many other busy people work? Is it possible to have a work-life balance?
First of all, I think that we need to take a step back and understand what work-life balance is. For each person is different, right? It's, for example, if you're accustomed to having, I don't know, from 5 o'clock onwards till tonight time, all to yourself, say they're watching TV like a potato, for like 5-6 hours, that's very different to a person who's not accustomed to that, right? So the first thing of the definition is, how do you define a work-life balance? Now, and it also depends what type of work. I mean, I think the question you're trying to ask me is there a balance between business and life?
Yes and no, because not everyone that watches this podcast are business people.
But that's what I'm saying. So there's a very different. So I think we need to answer the question in 2 different ways, which is, can there be a work-life balance? Yes, they can, but it might not be how you want it to be.
Yeah,
right.
I've realised that.
It might not be how you want it to be. Nobody's like, I'm going to get it done by this. Like, for example, let me talk from a business standpoint. As a businessman, one of the most underrated things, or one of the things that people don't talk about, is that you're carrying work around with you 24/7.
Yeah, you don't turn off.
You don't turn off. Like, you can try to turn off. You try to get on with normal things, and you do get on with normal things.
Like when I put my phone on Do Not Disturb.
And you we'll talk about that. Just you try to get on with normal things in life. But as a business person, that doesn't stop. 24/7, you are the business. Everything is in your mind, is constantly turning. So you never really get that, let me just switch off, power off, and let me do my thing type of thing. But even then, you can have a work-life balance. You just need to make sure that for a business person, you need to have things in your schedule. Like for a business person, it's very easy to start in the morning and continue till midnight. Like it's very easy to do that because it's you nobody there to stop you. But if having your family time not scheduled in, but having it dedicated, having a set, having your time for in the gym, having time for football, having time for friends, having time for your spirituality, having your dedicated time slots available for yourself, and making sure, look, I don't care where I am, whether I'm in a meeting, whether I'm here, whatever the case is, I'm gonna take those 15, 20 minutes.
Do you think that's easier to schedule in when you're later on in the business journey? Like when you're starting out, when you're like proper hustling, like right, pretty much where Khana preppers at now, when we're proper hustling, is it easier said than done? Because like when you're proper hustling, like that's all you're thinking about.
First, I don't think we're proper. I don't think we're hustling at the moment. I think what we've got. What we've got right now is every business goes through a stage where you would like to have other things in place compared to others. I don't think we're in the hustling stage. We are definitely in the stage where we're looking to we're growing, but and there's growing pains.
There's
a statement business
it's growing
they
pains,
say growing kills.
Yeah.
Right, they say growth can kill. Right, and that's why that's basically what we're feeling.
Do you think that's what I'm feeling right now?
That's what we're feeling, but. Is it easier? I think it's between when you're in that stage, when you're in the growth stage. I think it's more important to be more disciplined with your schedule, versus maybe later on in your business life cycle. Earlier on, it's very easy to be there 12 hours a day, 24 hours a day, just cracking on all the time because you want to get things done. And it's very easy, for example, if you're a religious person, for you to lose your, to forget your prayers, to forget your spirituality, to forget your to whatever spiritual things that you have in place, to miss them. So having that dedicated time, like, no matter what's happening, I need to take time out to do this. For example, if it's your fitness, very, very, I'm a culprit of this, many years ago, when this happened to me, I the first thing that went out, not one of the things that went, this is before Khana prep even was a thing. One of the first things that I lost was my nutrition and my exercise. So I had to physically put it into my schedule. I had to say, this is a schedule. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna get this done. Later on in the business life, or business cycle, I guess you get a bit more flexibility. You still have to schedule things in. You still need to do things, right? I can very easily, I try to keep my agenda as empty as possible and it still gets full. Like I try to keep my agenda at least 40% empty.
It's in the
but
medium day.
But that 40% gets full up anyways. And that's why I keep it, because if I have booked meetings in all the time, then I'm here till
God knows.
God knows what time. So I purposely don't allow 40% of my meetings to be booked in, and I still end up in meetings in this 40% of the time, right? So scheduling that time is extremely important. Whether it's on your phone, whether it's just mentally, whether it's a habit. If you're a person that struggles with habit building, then obviously having somebody hold you accountable is extremely, extremely important.
I think having someone to hold accountable, because I think our dynamic works well because we both kind of do that. If something's not done with my responsibilities, I'm told about it. Something's not done on your guys' end, then it's notified by higher members of staff or myself. But I think that's the biggest thing, especially when it comes to just your I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you're really in the thick of it, it's more difficult to stick to a disciplined routine. How does one? I guess what I'm trying to ask. How does one start that disciplined routine? Is it as simple as just, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna start? Because people have this issue of starting cold turkey as well.
I think it's in what regard? Give me an example.
What do you mean?
Like as in routine. Which type of routine are you talking about?
Just a working routine.
Like workout routine, gym routine?
No, not that. It could be that, but the work-life balance question. Okay, I'm working all the time. I'm in the office all the time. How do I eat? I don't even know where to even compartmentalize my day in such a way to where I do have time for the gym.
I think
I do have time for my family.
There's one book I was reading. I can't remember the name of it now. But one of the things that you have to always remember,
How to time manage for dummies.
is no. It's what's important. to
That's
you.
the book that you need to read, bro.
I think one good exercise to do is write down what's important. What's important to you. So, for example, you write down, make a list. You think, what's important for me? Obviously, work. My religion is important for me. My nutrition is important for me. My exercise is important. Blah blah. You list them all down, and then you put them in order of priority. You say, okay, priority number 1 is this. Priority number 2 is this. Priority number 3 is this. Priority number 4 is this. And then accordingly, you schedule times in there. For example, if for somebody, exercise is extremely important for them, then it needs to go on top of that list.
Yeah.
Then it needs to be. If spirituality and religion is extremely important for that person, then that needs to go on top of that list, and time must be made, right? Because
If family's important.
Because if those things are important for you, they're probably directly linked to your happiness. And if you're not happy, you're going to be a sad person. So if those things are linked to your happiness, then you need to make sure they're incorporated. For me, for example, if you get out of sync with your spirituality and religion, for me personally, it really, really throws off my mind. So I know in order for me to stay rooted, and I think you've asked this question many times to me, that how do you have so much stress and manage to stay so rooted? For me, one of the biggest things is to make sure that certain things are non-negotiable. Like, for example, if your spirituality and religion is important to you, you need to make sure that for the best of your ability, you try to stay rooted to that as much as possible. Now, if things go either way, you need to be able to make sure you be able to pull that back very quickly, because it's directly linked to your satisfaction in life and happiness. So that's extremely important.
I think that's a good answer. We've answered the question. We're done. No, but I think that's a good answer. You should write down your non-negotiables. And I think also, as a business person, I was looking at a piece of content the other day. It came up on my page that there's no such thing. As a business person, really and truly, even when you do have free time, even when you do have 40% of your day left untouched, there's still no time. That's the reality of the matter. The reality is there's no time, and you just have to make best of that situation.
100%.
You know what I mean?
I think obviously many businesses always go through the cycle of going from operating a business to a business owner.
Yeah.
And I think that's
two different things.
those are two different things. And I think that is
operating a business as in a business operation manager.
No. Business operating, right? You as an owner of the company, you're working in the business, right? Okay. So that is something that most businesses.
Wait, distinguish the difference.
I'm going to explain. So a business operator, you're generally working in the business, on the business all the time, right? So you're responsible for many things. You have to get things done. You're the driving force. You are the catalyst. You need to make sure you get things done. And generally, every business person wants to go from a business operator to a business owner, where basically you're not actively working in the business. but you're working on the business, or you're working in a more of a strategic or a more of that capacity. Because that's generally how it works. Because when you work from a business operator role, you build up all of this skill set, you bring all these different things, and as you go up, naturally you start to function on a more holistic scale. You have a bigger vision over the projects that you run. So so I think when you're a business operator or when you're working in the business, it's very difficult for that time, that work-life balance. So at that point, you have to be more disciplined with your schedule.
I would love to be a business owner position right now.
100%, and I think to get any person.
To get to there, you need to get to this stage.
Yeah, you need to be a business operator before you become a business owner. You can't. There's no
shortcut.
There is no shortcuts, and there is no quick fixes. And unless somebody's gonna come here and say to you, "Oh, look, you know what? Your business is now all at this stage," then you probably won't learn anything.
Or no, someone's gonna come to me. You know what? Don't pay me. Think, boss, what your business? That's not gonna happen. You know what I mean?
I think this learning is required.
Yeah.
Any business, when you go through this learning, this is what makes what business is. The way I see business is a series of mistakes.
But each mistake is progressively better.
Right. Business is a series of mistakes.
Yeah.
And fixing each mistake is what grows the business, is what makes a business better. It's a series of mistakes. So, because if it was if you started a business and it was immediately successful, it's like, what do I fix?
Yeah.
But the more you fix things in a business, the more it improves, the better it becomes, and so on and so forth. It's just a series of mistakes.
You mentioned a good analogy, I think, when we first started working. It's like a successful business is like a unsolved Rubik's puzzle, like a Rubik's cube.
No,
it's like when you
that was an example I gave.
It's not.
No, it was like a crying baby.
No, you said a puzzle.
No, it was a puzzle.
You said a puzzle.
It is a puzzle.
You said a puzzle, I made up the Rubik's part, but I always
go for it. Puzzle.
I always think that whole Rubik's puzzle is just equates because you're trying to sort out where you've gone wrong, and once you figure it out, you've ever seen I don't know if you've ever seen anyone seen people sort out Rubik's puzzles. It's there's always a time where they're trying to figure out where it is and they're not getting the algorithm properly, and once they realize what the issue is, then everything after that is 10x speed because they figured out what the issue is, and then the Rubik's puzzle gets solved. So I think that's what business is. We're spending all these years and days and times figuring out what the main issues are of our business, and once we figure it out, okay, this is how we need to get more sales, and then once we figure that out, you realize categorically the sales do increase, and okay, this is how you do better on social media, and when we figure that out, categorically the followers increase and everything like that. So that's the takeaway. I think in reality there's no such thing as work-life balance, but if you do want a work-life balance, you do have to be disciplined, especially if you're in the early stages, and be schedule the most important things that are non-negotiable to you. I think that's a good way of
100%. I agree with you.
Cool. I think we're done. Right?
Yeah, I think I think that's it. I think that was a good conversation. Looking forward to the catch up next week in terms of our journey, and make sure we record some content on that so everyone can see how we're using the Khana bread mills and how it's working. So that's the end of that podcast. It was a good conversation. I think there's a lot there for everybody to pick up on, and assess how the first few weeks are going for the new year. And catch up next week.
Beer waffle, bro.
Beer waffle.
See you guys next week, man. Thank you.